All right, let's dive in. We're heading to a place where wine is, well, it's pretty much a legend in a glass, Germany's Mosel Valley. I mean, you look at this place and the vineyards are literally defying gravity. They're just clinging to these super steep slate-covered slopes. And the wines they produce, well, they're unlike anything else on Earth.
If you've ever been lucky enough to try a great Mosel Riesling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. These words just pop into your head. It's a taste that's almost electric, right? So light, but at the same time, so intense. And that flavor, it's like licking a whetstone after a rainstorm. It's just, wow, a totally unforgettable experience. So that begs the question, right? How on earth does a wine get to taste like that? What's the secret ingredient? What creates the specific kind of magic in a glass? Well, that's what we're here to do. We're going to deconstruct a glass of Mosel wine and really get to the bottom of its legend. Okay, so our investigation starts where all great wine stories begin, with the land itself. You've probably heard the French term terroir, right? It's that unique, almost mystical combination of climate, soil, and landscape. And let me tell you, in the Mosel, terroir isn't just important, it's everything. So first up, you've got the Mosel River. And this is way more than just a pretty backdrop. In a climate this cool and this far north, the river is an absolute lifeline for the vines. Think of it like a massive storage heater. It soaks up warmth and moderates the temperature. And get this, its surface acts like a giant mirror, bouncing all that precious sunlight right back up onto the grapes. Pretty clever, huh? Okay, next, let's talk about the slopes. I mean, just look at them. They look absolutely terrifying to work on, and honestly, they are. But for the grapes, they're a total blessing. They're angled perfectly to face the sun, so they catch every single ray of light, and that's absolutely crucial for getting grapes ripe this far north. Plus, that crazy steepness, it means perfect drainage, so the vine's roots never get soggy. And now for the real secret weapon, the soil. The vineyards are just covered in this dark, broken slate. This stuff acts like a natural battery. It just soaks up the sun's heat all day, and then at night, it radiates it back onto the vines, keeping them warm. But it does something even more important. This slate is what gives the wine that famous flinty, stony minerality. It's literally the soul of the Mosel. So, we've got the river, the slopes, and the slate. That's our stage. But what's the star of the show? What's actually planted in this incredible landscape? Well, there is one and only one undisputed queen of the Mosel. And that queen is Riesling. I mean, look at this. Its dominance is just undeniable. It covers more than 60% of all the vineyards here. And there's a really good reason for that. Honestly, no other grape on the planet can translate this unique place into the glass so perfectly. It absolutely thrives in the cool climate, and it just loves that slate soil. So all those classic Riesling characteristics, they're a direct result of this environment. That cool climate is what keeps the acidity so high and so vibrant. It lets the grapes ripen really slowly, which develops these super intense aromas. You get lime, green apple, white flowers, but it's all held together with this incredible laser-like focus. And that structure, that's what gives these wines the backbone to age for decades. Seriously, decades. But, a wine region isn't just about rocks and plants. It's also about people. It's shaped by centuries of human hands. To really, truly understand Mosel wine, we've got to look at its deep and incredibly rich history. The whole story of wine here kicks off with the Romans. They were the first ones to look at these crazy steep, sun-drenched slopes and think, hey, we could grow grapes here. Then you move into the Middle Ages, and it was the monasteries that really refined everything and perfected the techniques. But then, disaster. The 19th century brought the phylloxera plague, and it just devastated vineyards across Europe, Mosel included. And now, here we are in the 21st century, and winemakers are facing a totally new challenge, figuring out how to adapt a classic cool climate region to a warming world. Okay, so let's recap. We have the place, the river, slopes, and slate. We have the grape, Riesling, and we have the history. Now for the final and maybe the most delicious piece of the puzzle. How do all of these things come together to create such a stunningly diverse range of wine styles? All right, I know this chart can look a little intimidating with all the German words, but it's actually a beautifully logical system. It's all based on one thing, ripeness, or more simply, when the grapes are picked. So Cabernet is from the first batch of perfectly ripe grapes, and it makes a light, usually off-dry wine. Spätlese means a late harvest, so it's picked later, and the wine is richer and a bit sweeter. Auslese is even more intense because they're using hand-selected, super ripe bunches. Then you get into the really decadent dessert wines like Beerenauslese, made from grapes with that special, noble rot, and the incredibly rare ice wine made from grapes that literally froze on the vine. But here's the magic trick. No matter how sweet the wine gets, every single style is perfectly balanced by that signature high-voltage acidity. It's what keeps them from being cloying and makes them so refreshing. And that, right there, is the secret we've been looking for. The legendary taste of a Mosel Riesling. It isn't from one single thing. It's this perfect, almost impossible harmony of everything working together. It's the sunlight bouncing off the river, the heat coming off the slate at night, the sheer resilience of the Riesling grape, and of course, centuries of human dedication, all captured in a single glass of wine.
But this story isn't over. This ancient, incredible story is still being written day by day. And the Mosel, for all its deep history, is facing some very, very modern pressures. For one, climate change is a massive challenge. It's forcing winemakers to completely rethink and adapt how they do things. And of course, the global wine market is fiercely competitive. But the winemakers here aren't just sitting back. They're responding. They're embracing sustainable farming, they're innovating in the winery, and they're doubling down on the one thing that has always made the Mosel unique: its unparalleled quality. And so this all leaves us with a final, really fascinating question. For centuries, the greatness of the Mosel was forged in its struggle against a cold climate. That's what made it special. So as the world gets warmer, can this legendary valley adapt and thrive? Or will its very identity be transformed forever? You know, maybe the only way to really find the answer is to go find a bottle, pour a glass, and taste for yourself. Thanks so much for joining me on this one.